What's up YouTube, it's Euphoria here. Today we are looking at Native Instruments Massive. I'll be getting a bunch of questions from you guys asking how to make specific sounds and so on. So in the spirit of teaching a fisherman to fish over giving him a fish, I thought let me take you guys through Massive, but the entire thing. So by the end of this series there won't be a button or knob inside Massive that you don't know what it does. So in episode 1 we're going to be looking at the basic subtractive synthesis elements of Massive. So your oscillation section, your filter section, your amp, effects, and add to your master. And we're also going to be looking at the oscillation tab and the voicing tab. Okay, so let's get going. Okay, so Massive has 3 oscillators which can be enabled by clicking on this little light here. Okay, then to the right of that we have our wave shapes. Okay, I'm not going to go through all the wave shapes. That's one thing we're not going to do, or otherwise we're going to be here all day. But for the sake of this tutorial, let's just pick the square saw. Okay, and then we'll come to this in a second. Okay, so wavetable position. What does this do? Okay, well you see here it's got square on the left and saw on the right. This means when I hold down a key, with the wavetable position in the far left, we are all the way onto square, as you can see in this oscilloscope here. Square. Should we move it to the right, we get a sawtooth, right, as indicated here, saw. Okay, so what this pretty much does is it changes between the two. So if we started in square and moved to saw, you'll see how it affects the wave here. See how as I moved to the right, it changed more into a saw. Okay, and then this here is your amplitude of the volume. I'm sure everybody knew that. Okay, now let's have a look up here. Spectrum. Okay, now your intensity knob controls, well, this has an effect on your intensity knob. Okay, so let's leave it on spectrum for now and pull this intensity knob down. Keep a look up here in this small little EQ here, and you'll see what it does. It's kind of like a low pass filter. Okay, so you saw there, it acted kind of like a low pass filter, but the algorithm in which it determines which frequencies will be removed is a little bit different. Okay, then we have bend plus minus, and bend minus. Okay, let's have a look at bend plus. We'll put this onto sine because I think that's the best way to see it, and we will pull the intensity down. So everybody knows what a sine wave looks like this. Okay, so as we push the intensity up, you will see how it changes. The best thing to describe bend is to show you what it does, because yeah, sometimes it just serves you better. Okay, so let's do it. Okay, so pretty much the intensity of the knob shapes the curve. Okay, so however full it is means, so when it's down it's got almost no effect, or it has no effect. When the intensity knob is all the way to the right, then the bend is having the most effect. And pretty much it just means that it takes longer to get there in the beginning, but quicker in the end. Okay, so if you look at the sine, you see how the sine is now. Okay, let's freeze that for a second. Okay, so you see how the usual sine, it's now taking longer to get to its peak, but quicker in the end. That's pretty much what a bend does. Okay. when you put it onto bend minus, the complete opposite thing happens. It will take longer. It will get there quickly, and it'll take longer. Let's have a look. Right, so almost kind of like a sawtooth, but bent. Okay, and then bend plus and minus does the exact same thing, but it allows you to have both at the same time. Okay, so but now when the intensity is set 50% in the middle, it's not going to affect the sound. As you pull it to the left, it will act as bend minus, and as you push it to the right, it will act as bend plus. Okay, then formant, right? So now what a formant does is, it's a formant, well, let's look at it from the intensity knob point of view. So the intensity knob is going to control the added transposition of waveform formants. And what that sounds like is this. Let's have a look at it in a square. Okay, I'm aware of how loud that was, I'm sorry. Okay, so pretty much it's hard to explain, but I think just experimenting and listening to how it affects certain waveforms is the best way to go. Okay, so we pretty much covered that. Now let's have a look at, let's turn this back off. Sorry for how cluttered this all is. I use dual screen, so my real estate on one screen is pretty small. Okay, so then over on the far left here we have pitch, and I'm sure we all know what pitch does. I'm going to change it back to square saw just for demonstration. Okay, so as you move this down, it's going to lower the pitch. As you increase it, it's going to raise the pitch as follows. Right, and then obviously one of these is a semitone, so -5 means 5 semitones down, and 12 for a full octave. Right, and then over on the far right we have F1 and F2, and that is the percentage in which the sound is affected by filter 1 and filter 2. So this will be 100% filter 2, that'll be 100% filter 1, and in the middle will be a 50% between them both. Okay, then let's have a look at the next section, which is the filter section. Right, let's have a look at this first. SCR and PAR. Now, SCR means series, and PAR means parallel. Now, I don't know if any of you guys did science or whatever at school, but you'll know that when you were wiring up light bulbs and things, series meant one after the other, and parallel meant two together. Okay, so pretty much, if it's in series, as the sound flows from your oscillator into your filter, it's going to go through filter 1 completely, out filter 1, and then into filter 2. If it's in parallel, the sound is going to be affected by both filters at the same time. So this filters are running parallel, they're running together, and in series, each one is running one after the other. Okay, so most commonly, you can keep this in parallel, but if you want to get some really cool sounds and affect things in a way you can't with parallel, then shift this up to series. Okay, so just for this demonstration, we're going to move this into filter 1. We're going to leave it as a sawtooth and make sure all of that is up. Okay, now let's go through all the filter types. Okay, so filters. If we have a look, the low pass and high pass filters both have 4s and 2s after them. The 4 just simply means a 4-pole low pass filter, and the 2 means a 2-pole. The 4 indicates that the cutoff is steeper than the 2. I'll demonstrate this in a second. Okay, then so when you select one, low pass 4, you've got your cutoff and your resonance. If we pull the resonance down for now, we'll see what that is in a second. And as I pull this down, have a look here in the EQ to see what kind of effect it has. So as I pull the cutoff down, it behaves quite similarly to this intensity knob when it's on spectrum. Okay, so what is resonance? Resonance is simply a boost of frequencies at the cutoff point. This is also best seen in action. So let's turn the resonance up quite significantly and pull the cutoff down now. So as before, where the frequencies were cut off, it's now giving a slight boost there. Okay, now I'm going to demonstrate the difference between a low pass 4 and a low pass 2. Okay. Keep an eye on the curve here. So as you can see, a low pass 4 is simply steeper. Okay, let's have a look at high pass. Now, high pass is the exact opposite of a low pass. So with the cutoff all the way down, it's having no effect on the signal whatsoever. As I turn the cutoff up, it's gonna cut all of the low frequencies and let only the high frequencies in. Let's have a look and see. And if I turn the resonance up, it's going to behave in exactly the same way as the low pass resonance. Okay, and the same for high pass 2, having the cutoff less steep as a high pass 4. Quite a noticeable difference. Okay. All pass. Okay, so an all pass filter just means that all the frequencies are passed through, but the phase of the signal is inverted. Okay, so this, and it also has resonance. Okay, so let's have a look at this in action. Keep an eye on the oscilloscope here as I move the cutoff from left to right. It simply inverts the signal, and when I turn the resonance up, there we go. Best described, demonstrated, in my opinion. Okay, a double notch filter. Okay, so we're looking at the double notch filter now, and I'm going to show you in an EQ what the double notch filter looks like, and that is what it looks like right here. So you've got certain frequencies cut, but in two places, i.e. double, and then as you move the cutoff, they move together, and we'll see this now in the next thing I'm going to show you. I'm actually going to demonstrate it now. Okay, so play a note, and I'll move the cutoff and resonance, and you can see what it does. But first, I'm just going to disable that EQ so it doesn't mess with the sound. One, two. And then watch what happens when I push the resonance up. Okay, so that's the double notch filter. Now let's have a look at band pass. Now you'll notice when you select to band pass, you have a new knob become available, which wasn't there on any of the other ones, called bandwidth. Now let's leave bandwidth in the middle just for now, while I demonstrate what a band pass filter is. Band pass filter is the exact opposite of the notch filter. So instead of cutting frequencies in the band, it lets frequencies through in a band. Now you'll probably say, oh, that just looks exactly like a high pass filter. But let me pull this bandwidth down and then show you again. It almost has it does in fact have two cutoffs. So it's almost like a low pass and a high pass affecting the sound together. Now how you can change the width is with this bandwidth. So if you want a nice wide band, you keep this wide. If you want a narrow band like we had on the double notch filter, although you'll never quite get it that tight with these settings, pull the bandwidth all the way to the left. Oh, in fact you do get it that tight. Oh, no you didn't, I just failed. Okay, there you go, there's a description of it. Yeah, so you won't get it that tight. The reason there was no sound before was my MIDI keyboard bugged out and decided not to play a note. And then the resonance will do the exact same thing at each at each cutoff. It will give a boost of the frequencies. So, in fact, it actually doesn't at each band. That was my error. There's just one, it sort of boosts the frequencies in the middle of the band. Let's have a look at that more. In fact, I was right the first time. It does give a boost at each cutoff. Okay, then let's look at band reject. Okay, so as I was saying, band reject is kind of like band stop. And for those of you who don't know what band stop is, best to demonstrate it first and then speak to you about it. You'll notice this looks an awful lot like the double notch filter, and that's because it is quite similar, except this is less intense. And you can also control the bandwidth. So let's have a look at it, how it affects the sound, and I'll move the bandwidth up and down. So as you pull the bandwidth down, it gives it a tighter cut on the frequencies, and as you move it up, the cutoffs become less steep and affect the sound more. As you push resonance up at each cutoff, you'll have a boost of frequencies. Okay, and then we'll have a look at the scream filter. Okay, so the scream filter. Now the scream filter is just a low pass filter, except the resonance behaves differently and the scream also behaves differently. It uses feedback instead of well, not instead of, because the low pass filter doesn't use feedback, but it utilizes feedback to get a kind of dirty filter sounds. Okay, so let's have a look and play with some of these controls. Okay, so let's move the cutoff, because it's going to do exactly what a low pass filter does. Let me quickly demonstrate that. And your resonance behaves slightly differently. Okay, and then with the scream up, you're going to hear, it doesn't actually sound like it's being fed back, but that is what is happening. And you can create some nice gnarly kind of sounds like that. Okay, let's move on to Daft. Now Daft is a low pass filter too, except it colors the sound a little bit more. Now this is once you get into using this modulation oscillator, this becomes even more prominent, but it adds a kind of warmth to the sound that a low pass doesn't. So let's have a look and see. Right, so absolutely no different so far. Okay, then comb filter. Okay, so this, you'll notice, is got completely different knobs. It's got pitch, damping, and feedback. Okay, if this feedback is turned completely to the left, the sound isn't being affected at all. Right, and as you move it to the right, you'll notice that the effects start to happen when these are turned up, and it kind of has like a flanging kind of effect. So we'll have a look and see by just playing around with them. Okay, so let's turn the feedback up. Okay, so I mean, it's acting pretty much like any comb filter would act. The best, again, is to just fiddle around with the different parameters and see how they work and learn kind of for yourself. Right, and then the acid filter, the same story as all the above ones. I'm just going to show you what it does and then we'll talk about it there. Low pass again, but this time it's also kind of like the Daft, where it's got its own added kind of color to the sound. And then as you mess around with the resonance, you're going to get a very acid kind of sound, aka wow, the filter's called acid. Okay, so that's the filter section. Just one more thing I want to talk about, and that's the slider over here. And that's pretty much just your volume slider when coming out of the filter. So nothing fancy there. Sound is gone, sound is up. Simple as can be. So lastly, we have this area here, which has your effects in it. What says amp, bypass, and master. Now, this video is running kind of long, so we're not going to look at what the effects or the EQ does in this episode. We're going to look at that next episode along with this modulation tools here. So we're just going to look at amp, which is very simple. We have panning, which obviously pans the audio left and right. Okay, and bypass, which we'll get into in the episode where we have an in-depth look at routing. Oh yeah, we're still going to look at the voicing and oscillation tabs in this episode, but we're not going to look at effects just yet. Okay, so amp is panning left and right. Okay guys, so that was episode 1, which was just a basic look at the subtractive synthesis bits of Massive without any modulation. The modulation is coming next episode along with effects. Hopefully we'll fit it all in. There's also going to be episodes on oscillation tab and voicing tab, which I wanted to do today, but I didn't realize how long it was going to take to go over everything. But I'd rather have long videos, in-depth videos that teaches you guys everything, because it is so helpful to know exactly what your synth does and how to make the best use of it. So I'm going to end this video here. Hit like if you enjoyed the video, if you learned anything, subscribe, and also check out my Facebook page. So thanks guys, and I'll see you next time.